This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio. This is the place where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. When I was a kid and just beginning my love affair with newspapers, one of my daily go-to places was Dear Abby. She was full of practical advice on how to handle all kinds of life struggles, particularly in the areas of relationships and parenting. When I got a little older, I also got hooked on the column Hints from Heloise, where a wise old woman offered up what we now call hacks on better ways to take care of all things household related. We're always looking for advice, and there's no shortage of places to find it now. You even come here to learn better ways to live your dream life. And my expert guests have provided many techniques for what to do to handle any aspect of life's challenges. But what if I were to tell you that perhaps the best thing you can do to solve one of your problems is to do nothing? That's the advice of my guest today, Jeanine Thompson. Jeanine is a speaker, transformational coach, and a former clinical psychotherapist, and she writes about this unique technique in her book, 911 from Your Soul. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Jeanine.
Thank you. It's lovely to be with you and your listeners.
Well, Jeanine, when I think about the concept of doing nothing, it brings to mind pushing the problem under the rug or procrastinating in the hopes that the issue will go away. But you're actually talking about something that looks like doing nothing, but actually accomplishes something real in the process. So tell me about it.
Yes, it's really the opposite of what it sounds. Very often we're taught that doing nothing is unproductive, it's idle or wasted time. And so we avoid it because we always feel like we should be moving, doing, thinking. And in this practice of stillness, I call it doing nothing, but stillness is this incredible gateway to wisdom and intelligence and the answers you're searching for, that longing, that restlessness you can't figure out. It is through the art and the practice of stillness that all can be revealed.
Yeah, it seems so counterproductive because you're right. We're always on the go and always doing things. And like I say, getting advice, do this, do that, don't do this or don't do that. But what happens when you actually allow yourself to be still?
So in stillness, and there's different ways we can access it, but we soften the busy mind. Data would say we have up to 70,000 thoughts a day. And most of us feel like that our thoughts are on overdrive and we're on this constant search externally. What would the experts say? What does culture say? What does TV say, etc.? But in stillness, we soften and empty that busy mind, and we shift our awareness to the core of our being. So I usually have people place one hand on heart center, one hand on their belly, and just close their eyes and consciously feel their breath, like really feel that inhale and really feel that exhale. So we're just joining and dancing with the rhythm of our breath. And in that emptiness is where we are actually able to tune into this trove of inner wisdom and intelligence that no expert, no external source could ever have for us.
That is something. And I said at the beginning that you wrote about it in your book, 911 from the Soul. So why do you call it 911 from the Soul?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That was a phrase that came through for me during meditation. It was during a time where I had my own 911 for my soul. From the outside of my life, from the outside or the external perspective, things should have been great. You know, it looked as if I was achieving success. I had wonderful children, a big Fortune 50 executive job, the cool travel, all the stuff that we're told externally is success and will make you happy. And it did for a long time. But then there came a time where I just kept hearing these whispers, there's something more for you. There's something more for you. And I tried to gratitude it away because I thought, there's nothing wrong with my life. There can't be something missing. I should just be grateful. But nonetheless, it led me on this search. And the search took me to places I used to make fun of, Reiki and yoga. And it was actually through the gift of those teachers and experiences where I learned to connect with what I call soul. You might call it inner genius, or maybe even entelechy, that seed of potential to be realized. And that led me to explore soul. And it was in the silence, in the stillness, in the awareness of moving through life, where I heard I was to bring the power of love and tapping into potential through soul to business. And I thought, no way, business is not ready for this. People are going to think this is woo-woo. I used to make fun of it as an evidence-based psychotherapist. So I started playing small. I continued to practice executive coaching of a science-based and more traditional approach, which is extraordinarily valuable, by the way, and serves a great purpose. But life wasn't asking me to play that role. And so when you live in half congruence and you know it, things get uncomfortable. My finances got stressed, my business got stressed, my health got stressed, and I was lost. I just didn't know who I was. So it was the power of soul who helped me remember who I was, who helped me have the courage to own my truth out loud.
And it was a journey for you, like you said. It
was
come all at
indeed.
once.
Yeah. And it always is for everyone. It might look different. 911s look very different for different people. For some people, it's the yearning, the restlessness, the something missing. For others, maybe some really important identity or aspect of their life got tipped upside down. A relationship, their health, their finances, and everything they used to rely on that helped them solve problems before no longer work. The external solutions fail to work. And that's when, honestly, I believe life says, it's time to remember who you are. It's time to come internal for the discerning your own truths right now in life and what this next chapter is to be about.
So what did getting into the stillness teach you about yourself?
Well, it taught me many things. One thing in stillness, our soul, is that voice that says, you've got this. And it reveals to us answers and pathways that will better serve not only our life, the lives of those we love, and I believe the planet and humanity. Your soul reveals what I call latent gifts. They've always been there. It's just most of us are so stuck in our head, we've lost sight with the higher intelligence that resides in our heart's intelligence. And I believe that our heart's yearning is the will of our soul.
I would totally agree with that. And when I think of stillness and of getting quiet with the mind, I immediately jump to meditation. So is meditation your go-to, or are there other methods that you use as well?
There are many methods. So one is through conscious breath. I think it is a highly underrated, undervalued, probably most potent tool we have. One is through the breath, but there are many other ways. Being in nature is a gateway. It's a reflection of who you are. It's a reflection of the oneness. And you probably can remember a time you got lost in the wonder of a sunset or captivated by some beauty out in nature. And all of a sudden, your worries feel smaller on the land. And that becomes a gateway. It's that softening of the mind. For others, it's an active pursuit. They actually find stillness maybe in an active run, but at some point they lose the busy mind and all of a sudden creative inspiration starts to flow through. So I think that there are different ways. We're all wired differently in terms of our preferences, but there are many ways into that softening of the mind so you can open the treasure trove of what you're seeking.
Yeah. Well, you said you came from, scientific background. So would you say it's really moving from the beta state into alpha or some other brainwave?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for sure, the different states of brain waves, we absolutely can move into a place where we're not captive to our busy brain.
Okay. Well, getting back to the whole issue of getting still, so many people just find it hard to even just sit still for a second, let alone to do it. So what do you say to someone who just says, I can't sit still, I can't be still, I can't do this at all? How do you start?
Well, first of all, I say, I get it. That was me. I was in a plane as an executive 200,000 to 300,000 miles a year. I was a single mom. So this whole idea of sitting still, I was antsy, and I simply had a story that said, there's no way I can do this. So first of all, I deeply understand it. So one, we got to change our story to, this might feel uncomfortable, but certainly I can do it. And I tell people initially, let's start with 30 seconds. Let's just put 30 seconds on the timer on your phone. Close your eyes, touch that heart center, touch your belly, because we follow touch in our body. So we're already starting to go, yes, I want to go into my body. I want to embody my body. And if you actually feel and notice the breath, we can't be thinking thoughts and really having our awareness directed to the movement of that life force in our body. I also tell them that, listen, that busy brain is going to kick up and say, listen, you need to get this at the store. You need to make this call. You need to do this. And simply just say, noted. My goodness, you're busy today. And I get playful. I'm like, all right, I'll be with you in a second. And then I retouch, and then I consciously feel that breath inside. And I promise you, if you still stick with it, you will retrain and you will debunk the myth that you can't be still. But we've carried this myth, either I can't do it, or it's unproductive, or I tried it once and I didn't hear anything. And I'm like, come on, we don't go to the gym once. Let's, we need to build the muscle. And then you can play. Like in my book, I have so many different practices. You're sure to find one that is resonant for you.
Yeah, I think I want to also emphasize what you just said about the consistency, because it's like I say that with dream work, if you're trying to remember a dream, you might not remember it the first time you say, I'm going to remember a dream. But if you keep telling yourself, I'm going to remember it, you are going to get to that point. You said it's right. It's like building up the muscle. In your case, it's building up the stillness muscle.
Absolutely.
Be quiet.
It is the stillness muscle. It's the awareness muscle. I believe we are awareness, and we're just shifting our awareness back into our body. Most of us aren't paying attention to our body. We're stuck in our head all day long. We're double tasking. We're running and we're, talking on the phone. We are, feeding the children and we're listening to music. We're constantly doing so many things. So I say in the book that no matter if your preference might be an active pursuit of stillness, like running, rhythmic weightlifting, painting, dance, movement, honor your preference. And I'm a beauty of the and girl. I love science and soul, the visible and the and visible. Go ahead and honor the desire to be active and And everyone every day should integrate the quieter practice of just being with your breath and tuning inward to listen. And what happens is during the day, you just get more aware. Life leaves us love notes every single day. I love them. I just get so excited every morning to see how am I going to receive a love note today? Maybe it was an unexpected word of encouragement. Maybe you walked through a neighborhood you've walked through hundreds of times, but a new plant or an animal or whatever it might be, something caught your attention, and for a moment you're reconnected with the beauty in life. And we need that, because when we're in a 911, it can feel scary and overwhelming and like, why can't I figure this out? And life is asking us actually to not figure it out.
Yes, I mean, that is so beautiful. I love that concept of the love letter.
Yeah.
From life. That is beautiful. We're going to take a short break now. We are speaking with Jeanine Thompson about stillness, and we'll be right back. What do Thomas Jefferson, Elias Howe, and Paul McCartney have in common? They all understood the value of dreams, and as a result, the ideas, inventions, and creations from their dreams affect us to this day. What great ideas are you leaving on your pillow at night? Sign up for a complimentary consultation at my website, thedreamcoach.net, and discover why your dreams are a terrible thing to waste.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're talking about stillness with Jeanine Thompson. Jeanine, you talk about some key spiritual principles that you call the soul solution in your book. So can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yes, during this time I was in the pause, what I call the space between who you knew yourself to be and who you will know yourself to be, and where you're being called forward to next. I access these 7 key spiritual principles, and they are soul, mind, body, heart, service, love, and gratitude. And with each of these principles, they actually become a blueprint, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's a daily guide that helps you live greater coherence between your human self and your spiritual or soulful self, right? Because I view us as the beauty of the and, as I mentioned before. We're local and we're non-local. We are spiritual beings traversing in a wondersuit of a body. And so each of these 7 principles, I still read them every day. And with each of them, you'll get an earth view. Like, how do you see this principle from the earth view? Is our conditioned mind. It's our personality. It's our ego. It's what the world is often espousing. And then it gives you a perspective from the soul view. If you were to look at this same situation with an unlimited view, with a clear, clean canvas, with knowing that life was actually for you, what would that look like? And then I have the beauty of the and. How do we live our highest truth of who we really are while we're in Earth School in this wonder?
It was beautifully put. I also love that one of your concepts is about gratitude, because I feel it's so important to really living your true soul.
Yes, and I do too. I couldn't agree with you more. I absolutely love gratitude, and I think that gratitude is it's an energy, automatic energy amplification. The moment we can drink in a precious experience of light, and it might have been a dragonfly flying by, our cellular activity changes, our mindset changes, the good hormones change. So I love gratitude for the way that it can instantaneously shift our minds, body, and heart. But I also love gratitude because if we can learn to be grateful for even those darker times in life, those challenging times in life, and allow ourselves to surrender into the moment and just say, help me know what I need to know, show me the way, just make it loud because my head's kind of busy. I might miss it, but help me out here. Gratitude actually helped me navigate some of the painful times. So I think that's a thing that people don't often talk about, but being grateful and trusting that life might actually have an intelligence and a purpose to this season in life, and holding on to it. You don't have to feel it. You don't even have to believe it yet, but to have a willingness to ask love to help you see the gift either for you or through you. Because sometimes I think that we are vehicles. Sometimes we have really tough stuff in our lives, and we become the lighthouse and the vehicle of wisdom and message for another. Mm-hmm. So I use gratitude in that way as well.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And what I love about it is it also helps you get out of that negative headspace.
It sure
you have to, if you're feeling awful, and you can stop and say, okay, well, what am I grateful for? Everybody, even the person who's in dire circumstances, there's always something, even just as simple as I'm breathing, be grateful for that. And the more you can do that, the more you get out of that whole negative space.
Absolutely. And sometimes, I've done hospice work, both as a volunteer and less formally for over 30 years. I'm so deeply blessed that I had the gift of accompanying these beautiful souls as their physical lives were transitioning. I learned so much. I actually learned then that you could honor the sadness or the overwhelm or the anxiety and be grateful at the same time. I wasn't taught that in graduate school. It was a bit more linear, if we're in pain, more pain. And for some of my folks, they didn't even feel it was appropriate to have a moment of relief with gratitude because they felt it might be dishonoring in some way. And I'm like, no, we can have both. We can be in deep pain and have just a moment where we felt gratitude and we actually returned to the steady peace, the unshakable peace, the unshakable love that we are. So we get to have both.
Mm-hmm. I always love to hear examples. So can you tell me about someone who has benefited from adding stillness into their life?
Yes, I will tell you honestly, all of my clients have, and that is 100% spot on. Almost all of them were similar to how I began, which is not a chance. But I always say, come on, will you just place it into the willingness, the hopper of consideration? Let's just give it a go. Let's test and experience. But I think, I've had client stories from reconnecting to their own sense of worthiness and actually learning how powerful they were. Power might have been taught to them through religion, that it was up there, it was out there, it was outside of them. And there was a reconnection with however they came to understand higher power or divine consciousness. It's like, wow, I've got this power. And all of a sudden they started, getting different ideas, different solution sets that move their personal and professional life forward. At an individual who had zero belief in any sort of higher power, a loving universe, that felt a little too much for him, but he also felt so uncomfortable he was willing to try. And he fundamentally brought a game-changing business idea to life through stillness. And probably I love that because I love business, but I also love that he's now taught his daughters. The power is incredible. And we are, we are love. We are that power. We are that expression of all that is. And that is what I get so crazy excited about. I didn't know that 30 years ago as an evidence-based psychotherapist, I didn't know that for some of my Fortune 50 career. And I think, my goodness, in the midst of a lot of sadness right now and overwhelm for a lot of people, it's been quite tumultuous on some levels. There's also been exquisite beauty. There's always been an and in all of this. It has ignited a belief that they got this. And not only do they got it, that something about either who they understood themselves to be or how they show up in life is demonstratively greater in ways that are life-enlivening.
God, what a wonderful gift to give people. Have you ever gone back to those harried executives you worked with in the Fortune 50 companies and tell them about stillness?
I do now all the time, but that was part of my 911 is because for a long time I thought, well, I'll sprinkle it in with clients I know might be receptive. But the ask of life was play bigger, play to all of who you are. So now I talk about it all the time. And I think that's the utter brilliance of life that I simply couldn't have done on my own, Debbie. When I look back, I knew I wanted to be an evidence-based psychotherapist. That's what my aunt was. So when I visited Go to Work with Your Family Day when I was in 5th grade, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a psychotherapist because that's what she was. And I didn't know what that was in 5th grade, but I just loved her so much. I thought that's what I want. And I did do that for a decade. And I'm glad because I have a deep understanding of human behavior from personality and psychological standpoint. I love the science of that. And then I got to apply that in business. But I never took a business class. I didn't decide to become a Fortune 50 executive. Life set up the stepping stones for the gateway of that door, that synchronicity to happen. And it was because of my amazing teams. It was because of amazing teachers who taught me how to lead, that we could be successful and that I could be successful. And then the time came where the restlessness was, and life said, it's time. You got to go on another adventure. You got to take the big leap and jump again, even though you have no clue where you're going to land. And that brought me to yoga and Reiki. So now I do bring it back to my entrepreneurs, my leaders, my executives. I'm also getting a lot of, not young kids, 20 and 30-year-olds right now, because they have access to so much more information, right? They're curious about this. But I think because there's a grounded, pragmatic, tangible, still rely on the science. I'm a nerd. I still love the data, so I draw on that. And the invisible. And however you understand that quantum power, they're willing to be open because I think of the beauty of the and I've lived their world. I know that grit that's required.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Jeanine, how can people find out more about you and your work?
Thank you so much. You can find me at JanineThompson.net. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop me a note. There's contact form. You can follow me at Instagram. I'm _Jeanine Thompson _. And if 911 from your soul speaks to you either personally or maybe through you to be a lighthouse for someone else, you can find that at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Go support your local bookstores. Tell them it's in the Ingram directory. So you can find me. Just type in Jeanine Thompson, and I would love to hear from you.
Well, Jeanine, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Thank you. It was my honor. Many blessings.
We've been speaking about the benefits of stillness with transformational coach and speaker Jeanine Thompson. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episode. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio.